This one is a rather large tome called Rural Development in the Land-Grant University, an evaluation of Title V. This is the one you referred to earlier.
Right. What we did in that study is look at what was going on in all of the land-grant university institutions regarding rural development work that was being done under the auspices of Title V, the Rural Development Act. We did case studies, we did site visits a number of places in the country, and that too was kind of a turning point in its own way, in that I really came to have an appreciation for the strengths and the weaknesses of the land-grant university system. I gained a great deal of respect for some really innovative, imaginative, creative, energetic work that was going on in a number of the institutions, and at the same time understanding a number of the barriers that prohibited faculty from doing the kinds of things that society really needed.
What kind of barriers particularly?
Oh, particularly the reward system, the tenure promotion process, which encourages people to do reductionist kind of activity, viewing the world through a pea shooter, if you will, so that you understand a very, very small segment of reality very, very well. There's a saying about specialization, that it's the process of learning more and more about less and less until you know everything about nothing in the extreme. Well, we have been well served by that model in terms of unpacking the component parts of nature and of society, but what the world needs in terms of solving problems is a more integrative approach, where we take the findings of all these components and put them together in a systems perspective, which helps us to understand the workings of the various components.
Time for more of a synthesis.
Yes, it is a time for more of a synthesis, and I certainly found that in regard to the rural development work. And I found it true subsequently in other areas. After doing this study, I had done about 10 years of policy work on poverty and rural development and so forth. And at that time, I really felt that it was time to make a career change. There were a lot of other factors operating in my life at that time, but I said, wait a minute now. Do I really want to spend the rest of my career doing policy research? I remember having a talk with one of my very reluctant graduate students, and you know, he had bad morale problems. He'd just grumping around and so forth. And I said, well, now, Alan, just tell me, what would it take? What kind of job description could you imagine that would make you eager to get out of bed in the morning and rush to the office and get to work? He thought a while, and then he laid out a job description. I said, okay, now I'll help you to prepare yourself for that kind of job. Well, that's kind of been my philosophy, that you know, if you can't be excited about your work, you either ought to change jobs or change your attitude. And I decided to, I was getting stale in this whole area of policy research, and so I raised Periscope and looked around and said, no, you know, what would I really like to work on? And it occurred to me that there was a great need for a clearer understanding of that process of moving from chemical-intensive agriculture toward what at that point I called organic agriculture.
Yeah, we're talking late 70s here, aren't we?
Yeah, late 70s. And again, a turning point occurred just 10 years ago. I was at a conference with Bob Rodale. We met at dinner, and I was amazed to find out just the kind of person he was. I expected to, because of the fact that he published Prevention magazine and Organic Gardening magazine and so forth, I expected to see a rather doctrinaire approach to agriculture, one which took a very narrow view of, you know, never use any pesticides and never use any fertilizers and so forth. And I had really very little patience with that, because I feel a very strong commitment to, you know, to avoiding starvation, if you will.
Yes.
And I felt that if we were to go cold turkey and to stop using all of these chemicals, that it would be an unmitigated disaster. And I incorrectly ascribed that position to Bob Rodale. I found out that he didn't think that way at all. He was a rather pragmatic person, tremendously innovative and imaginative, and a very, very deep humanitarian. Over dinner, he invited me to come to the Rodale Research Center and check them out and find out what they were doing. And at that time, he had Dick Harwood as the director